Welcome to Community Partnership Conversations with Inland Northwest Broadcasting. I'm John Carson, and I am delighted to have our guest today, the director of the Farmers Market, and forgive me if I get that title wrong, Amanda Argona. Welcome from the city of Moscow.
Hi.
Talking about the Moscow Farmers Market.
Yeah, the title is, I'm not quite a director. I'm community events manager.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Close.
Very close. Yeah. And in scope of responsibility, probably a lot of crossover, I'd imagine, with that level. Okay.
Yeah. About 80% of my job is dedicated to the farmers market. And then 20% of my job is helping out with all the other wonderful events that we see in our community happening in the downtown area. And so our office does all that permitting and helps folks. Yeah. So we do have some busy times even during market season where, we're working with like the chamber or like the Grace Agenda Block Party that's coming up this Saturday or anything like that. A lot of those folks work with our office to get permitted.
Okay. And so if you're closing a street down, if we're
probably involved.
Asking for alcohol to be permitted in a non-sanctioned area, that's part of that process.
We're probably involved.
Okay.
Yep.
I love it. So we are talking about the Moscow Farmers Market, and can you give us just a brief history of? I go back and forth on whether to start with history or whether to start with what the farmers market is, but why don't we talk a little bit about the history, and then we can talk about it from the perspective of, okay, you're listening to us, you're seeing us, you live 60 miles away, maybe you've never been. I'd like to paint a picture at some point too, but how did the farmers market come about?
Yeah, so our history isn't brief. We're celebrating 50 years this year, which is really exciting.
Yeah.
And so the Moscow Farmers Market, sort of the precursor to what we know it is today, got started in the late summer of 1976. Mm-hmm. And our division, it's probably its third or fourth management owner. So it actually got started by the Moscow Food Co-op.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And then shortly was sort of, managed by the Moscow Arts Commission, which was the precursor to the Moscow Arts Department.
Right.
So then it was housed under the Arts Department for quite some time.
Okay.
And then the Community Events Division was formed because we were not only seeing success with the farmers market and how much time that was being taken up with the Arts Department, but also as I mentioned earlier, we were just seeing a lot of other events that were being permitted that were really utilizing the downtown area similar to the farmers market. And so staff is really familiar with that space. So that's kind of how, but it's been under the city purview management since, 78, 79 is when it started to really got its support from city council. Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I know this is off topic, but is that common? Is it common?
No, we are. There's only one other municipality in the state of Idaho that has a farmers market. It's the city of Eagle. Okay. Most farmers markets are nonprofits or their own LLC entity. Okay. They work closely maybe with their local municipalities or chambers of commerce, a downtown business association, but it's very uncommon. Even in like Oregon and Washington, it's an uncommon way or format to have a farmer's market.
I'm going to put you on the spot again.
Yeah.
And I feel bad for doing this, but it's just eating at me to not ask it. Is the Moscow Farmers Market the largest by volume tourism event in Moscow?
Oh my gosh. I don't know the answer to that.
Is that a fair question?
I mean, it might be a fair question, but we're also, you have to remember, the only 26, 25 weekly recurring event.
Right.
So other events, are typically annually.
Or series based. Right. Vandal home games for football.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. But when you look at a recurring weekly event, May through October, I mean, I would say we're one of the premier events in town. Yeah. I don't know about tourism generating though. Okay. But we know that people who come for football come and check out the farmers market.
Well, one thing I know and without a doubt, I mean, if you're down there on a Saturday morning, what you're going to see a lot you're going to see a lot of people wearing Coug gear, whether it's a game day or not, because there's just a lot of crossover from folks coming over from Whitman County. Yeah. You're going to see, like you mentioned off air before we started, A lot of families come in for those football weekends or the sort of parents' weekend type of things. I mean, that's when it's absolutely packed.
Yes.
Parents' weekends seem to be the busiest.
Yeah.
But because I work regionally, the radio stations have a regional impact. And so I work with a lot of sort of out of immediate market folks, and they all say the same thing, which is, yeah, you may be coming to Clarkston to Costco on Saturday or Sunday, but everyone from Clarkston is going to the Moscow Farmers Market on Saturday morning.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why I ask about regional tourism, because I think it would be interesting to find out what some of the data points were on something like that.
We are actually... we have a lot going on with not just it being the 50 years, but we have these other things that our market does. And one of them is rapid market assessments. Okay. So our last rapid market assessments were done in 2022. And so those assessments actually do customer counts. Okay. So we can get an idea of how many people are circulating through the market. We have a very short series of questions we call do the dots. So it's 4 questions. And some of those, one of the questions that we ask is, where are you coming from? Where do you live? Because we want to know our demographic. Is it Latah County? Is it Moscow? You know? And then we ask about like how much people are going to spend at the market. We ask how much they're going to spend in Moscow, because that is that like economic impact assessment of the market.
Yeah.
You know, so those things we will have an update to, hopefully by the end of this year, to kind of see where those trends are headed. Okay. But generally speaking, it is a lot of like Latah County, Moscow people that come and get their weekly groceries. And yeah, a lot of people are coming up from the valley. I mean, I'm sure it's cooler.
You know, that's a nice thing too, right? In the summer, we've got people coming from Whitman County, definitely as our primary next target audience. But yeah, we'll be actually doing a customer count only this Saturday. So we may see people just hanging out at market entrances with a little clicker counter. Yeah. And so that's all going to feed into this update to the economic impact of the market. Oh, that's excellent. And so is it... and forgive me for not knowing this, but is it sort of a justification of this, you know, this is the effort, this is the funds that go toward it, and this is the impact it has, therefore you ought to keep supporting it?
I think that's a great question. I'm in my 9th season of doing this as the community events manager, and then I have 2 other seasons as an AmeriCorps member back in like 2013 and 14 and 15. And so my inkling and understanding has always been that city council and city leadership want to continue to support the market. I don't think we've ever needed to provide a justification, but it doesn't hurt when those questions come up of, do we need a farmer's market? And so when you see what the impact of the market is in the community as far as generating dollars and business and keeping our downtown thriving, you know, it would be, I think, a hard sell to say, well, we don't really need the farmer's market anymore, or we don't want to offer it. Yeah.
I couldn't imagine that type of sentiment.
Yeah. But it does, I mean, while there are the faces of the market, myself and then Amanda Reyes, another Amanda that works in the community events division. Well, we're usually the on the ground faces. There's actually a lot of behind the scenes support that goes into it.
I can't imagine. There's a whole committee, right?
Well, there's a whole commission. And those are all volunteers of the Farmers Market Commission. They're all appointed by the mayor. But we have public works staff that we work with on a regular basis. If you've ever seen the Moscow Farmers Market banner across Washington over by Latah Credit Union, that's public works staff putting that out.
And there's another one that's over here.
There used to be another one. Okay. It got taken out by a dump truck.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Yeah. So, but I mean, we have both full-time and seasonal park staff that comes through and takes care of all of our trash and our waste. Sure. And that's not just generated by the farmers market. That's generated by people just visiting downtown outside businesses and coming to the market. And then, you know, so our finance department is working with us to make sure payments are processed if we need that for musicians and vendors. And so while we often say there's a staff of 2 that's kind of managing everything,
Right.
we enjoy a level of support because we're managed and a program of a municipality that I think most nonprofit markets do not receive, especially, of that large of a caliber. So if you look at other farmers markets of our size and how long they've been going on, they have a huge volunteer base,
Yeah,
right? And they
yeah.
have a lot of seasonal staff that they hire.
Yeah.
So,
No,
yeah.
essentially it's incredibly efficient, is what you're saying.
I mean, we try to be.
I would say so.
Yeah.
As far as the staff of 2 for.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna get to the accolades and the awards and recognitions, but and then again, this is probably an unfair question, but I don't. Is the Moscow Farmers Market, has it ever been quantified in a way where it's like per capita, this is the biggest farmers market per the city population?
I don't know if it's ever been quantified that way.
Okay.
But I can tell you we're the oldest, longest running farmers market in the state of Idaho.
Okay.
100%.
The only one I've been to that's bigger by volume is Boise.
Yeah.
And it's cool, but it's a lot different.
It is.
And the footprint, the footprint of it,
yeah.
footprint of it is quite different, and the type of vendors are quite different. A lot more artisan type vendors and stuff that you might see at like Ren Fair.
Yeah.
And not, but I mean, farmers market has some of that too, and we'll get to that as well. But that's
and it's important to know in Boise they have the Capital City Farmers Market and then the Boise Farmers Market.
Okay.
So the Capital City Farmers Market is the original one.
okay.
And then the Boise Farmers Market kind of broke off from them. And
Okay.
Boise Farmers Market really focuses on growers and food.
Okay.
Whereas that Capital City one has more of that art element.
I bet
to
that
it.
I'm thinking of the Capital
But
City
that's,
one.
I mean, that happens all the time
Yeah.
with farmers markets. Sometimes they just splinter off from one another.
Okay.
And then they still become successful. But, you look at Boise and they're able to support 2 farmers markets plus the surrounding areas of
Right.
like Nampa
And like you said,
and that sort of thing.
Eagle
Yeah.
and- yeah.
And every market has its core audience, core shoppers, clientele that, they're catering certain programs and items to. And I think with Moscow, we have generally known for several years that the reason people come to the Moscow Farmers Market is to get fresh produce.
Yeah.
But over the years, what we've seen kind of inch up over that is the social aspect, is the sort of more atmospheric aspect to come down and just hang out downtown at this buzzing market. And so that's something that I think we want to make sure, especially when you're recruiting growers, that we still have people coming to shop for their weekly groceries has to be like a core item that we can continue to support.
Yes.
So
Yeah, and I know that I kind of want to talk a little bit about how you evaluate what type of vendors you're going to have based on that segue, if you will. Because that was a great segue.
It's a lot. Yeah.
And I mean, like being able to assure them that it's people shopping for produce staples, that means it seems, and we talked a little bit about this, that is the paramount value as far as selection, right?
Yeah. I mean, I will say shopping for those core groceries, that kept us open during the pandemic.
Yeah.
That, that was 100% one of the reasons we were able to operate.
Survive.
And Governor Little issued a proclamation following several other states that said farmers markets are essential.
Yeah.
And it was because of that. So we like to think of ourselves as, yes, this like fun social event, but really we're like an outdoor supermarket.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But when it comes to that vendor selection curation, it's a lot that goes into it. So that's kind of part of what our Farmers Market Commission does is we have 2 main categories of vendors: agricultural, non-agricultural.
Okay.
And there's a little bit more nuance that goes into that. But
Okay.
what it comes down to is for someone who has an agricultural product, we are actually going to go out and visit their farm operation.
Really?
Mm-hmm. So every...
Who's we? The
my
commission?
staff and the Farmers Market Commission.
You go to every one?
We go to, sometimes it's just me if it's a very long, like I went to Sunnyside, Washington by myself this year.
Which is way over by Yakima.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
I literally went to go visit one farm, and it was a family farm that was piecing together 3 different properties for 6 acres. So I went and saw what they were growing, I met the farmers. And so I've gone to, oh my gosh, where is J3L Meat based out of? I mean, they're 160 air miles outside of Moscow.
Okay.
And it's like Trout Creek, Oregon, some place that took forever to get to. And that was an all day driving there, doing the site visit, learning about their cattle operation. So part of that is, one, to verify that they're growing the thing that they want to bring to market.
Okay.
And part of it too is to be able to help our new vendors as they're getting to know Moscow clientele. So we can say, hey, I know you're looking for meat. So-and-so's not here today. Have you tried this new vendor that is here today? You may want to go check them out. So it helps us tell the vendor story as well.
I love that.
Yeah. And then the other side, so that's the agricultural side.
Okay.
The other side is our non-agricultural vendors. So that's your craft and food.
Okay.
And that's hot food, packaged food, usually, and then shelf-stable crafts, right?
Okay, right.
And that is a highly competitive process. We probably don't get a lot of agricultural vendors. Like, the number that we get reaching out to us or interested in our market is far fewer than craft and food. And craft and food goes through a craft and food jury process where we've got a scorecard, we've got criteria, we're constantly refining it. We're always taking feedback, especially if people don't get into the market, they have feedback for us.
I'm sure, yeah.
But we want it to be where we're offering I wouldn't say like, we don't want to be offering artisan vendors that are only like $200, monetarily out of reach. The market is for everyone. And so we might have more craft vendors that are maybe on the lower quality, but they have met certain criteria to be able to come to market. Or maybe it's a niche product that we don't have yet. But basically the bottom line is they got to get a 70% coming out of that jury. So we have vendors who have 70%. We've had vendors who had 88%.
Sure.
So it allows us to make sure that our vendor roster is really something that is accessible to many people, to many families, to many socioeconomic backgrounds.
Yeah.
But it's highly competitive.
It sounds like it.
I think we probably get over 100 inquiries each season because we don't do recruitment throughout the year.
Okay.
And so we get all those inquiries and then we say, okay, you got to go register for a jury. Registration opens on this date and there's limited spots.
Right.
So then 100 inquiries, maybe half of those are going to actually complete the registration process.
And this is all for non-ag.
And all non-ag.
Over 100 vendors won in for just for the non-ag slots. Okay.
Yeah. So about, half of those are going to register, and then probably another half are going to make it into a market. So like maybe a quarter, is what it comes down to. And then on top of that, they're probably competing for about 20 to 30 open spaces that I have roughly available each Saturday.
Oh my gosh.
So it's super competitive.
Yeah. So just by definition, this is very interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was that. Especially
the data around our market is fascinating if you like talking numbers.
Yeah. It's shocking.
Yeah.
But it's shocking in a good way.
Yeah.
It's just a testament to the whole value of the Moscow farmers market. But I want to come back to, as far as the evaluation and vetting process, it's probably pretty nice for you and commission members to be able to say, hey, you only have offerings that are at a price point that don't match anywhere where our data shows, based on these in-person survey feedback pieces we're getting, that's saying we're going to spend this amount of money and this is what we're buying. It's probably pretty easy to be able to say, well, it's obvious that they don't meet this criteria because it's not even close to what all the feedback is that we're getting from attendees.
Yeah, I think one of those things that we always try and be mindful about is we want to offer the opportunity. Yeah. So like we have accepted vendors in that have high price points.
Yeah.
But our job is to say it's up to the vendor to make it successful if they make it into the market.
Yeah.
And so a lot of vendors do learn if they have higher price points, they start to learn, I need to make smaller items. We live in a college town.
Okay.
People are visiting.
Right.
And they want something small that they can bring back with them on the plane.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Or they are already spending a bunch of money and maybe they want to give something to their college student to have in the dorm. Like, so I think what's been really interesting is even for vendors who maybe have higher price points and get into market, they start to learn what their audience is looking for. And yeah, maybe every once in a while they might sell that Adirondack chair.
I was about to say, like, are there furniture makers who try to get in on this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm,
yeah. I would imagine there would be. But
they also do cutting boards. They also do
right.
smaller plant holder. Like, they just start to
like
get that.
diversify.
Yeah. If you're being smart about coming to the market, you're listening to that feedback and then figuring out how can I fit into what the market needs rather than how can the market mold itself to what I have to offer.
Yeah, and bring 100 business cards, not 100 Adirondack chairs, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And a lot of folks get custom orders,
exactly.
because they just get that exposure. And so, I mean, for us, like we've seen some things come to craft and food juries that like just historically have not done well. And we tell people that up front. We say, hey, you're registered. You just got to know this hasn't done well. It doesn't mean that you won't do well, but full transparency.
Yep. And
we try and give people constructive feedback, and not everyone is always happy with that. But if the thing is Moscow Farmers Market's not the only market in town anymore. We're not the only game in town. And so we always try and make sure that folks are finding the best fit market for them. And it may not be Moscow, and it could be one of our other wonderful like neighboring communities that are offering a market.
Yeah, and we were kind of talking about that before we started rolling. And I mean, I know that the U of I Extension has had a farmers market on the other side of town, and I'm sure
on
they have
Tuesdays,
their own their own vetting process. And we talked about Troy doing theirs on Saturdays. Colfax, I think, is doing every other Thursday, or
Select
maybe a
Thursdays,
first and third
I think.
Thursday. Pullman's got Saturdays going now downtown,
and Potlatch has one on Wednesdays.
Oh, I didn't even know about that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and so what's great is like for the midweek markets, those can sometimes be really great training grounds for someone who's like, sometimes we get vendors coming to our market and I always ask them, oh, how did you hear about us? And they said, oh, I was doing the Tuesday market.
Yep.
Oh, I was doing the Potlatch market.
Yep.
And we had folks that Sunnyside, Washington farmer that I went to visit.
Yeah.
They were doing the Clarkston market before that farmer's market went belly up.
Yep.
And I said, well, how did you guys hear about us? They said, we had customers that said, you should really think about doing the Moscow farmer's market.
Yeah.
And I was like, great. Like, so in some ways, because, of our success and how well we've honed operations, we don't have to do a whole lot of recruitment, but needless to say, I'm always keeping my eye out, especially at like winter market. I'm like, oh, that might be a good fit. Like, have you considered Moscow? And some people just aren't ready. I get it. It's like Saturdays during the summer, and people want to travel and be on vacation.
It's a huge commitment.
Yeah. So, and you don't have to attend every Saturday. You can literally attend once the whole season.
Let's go into that a little bit before we talk about the makeup of the current market. Yeah. So we were talking off air about the fluctuation, and how did I didn't even know that happened.
Yeah. So our market's May through October.
Right.
In May, you're likely not going to see a lot of produce. You'll see a lot of bedding plants, nursery plants, right? Maybe some overwintered things.
Right.
And you have graduation weekends, you have Mother's Day. So people definitely want to be in May, especially our craft vendors. But as the growing season continues, what we start to see is a lot of our growers return by mid to late June.
Okay.
Many of our growers take up multiple spaces, so it's not like one vendor, one space.
Yep.
And then really what ends up happening is like August is like this peak season for produce.
Yeah.
And that's great for the farmers. Like, we want them in. But that comes up against odds with the town that we live in, which is a university town. So all the students are back. When Greek is back because all the sorority girls are in the market getting flowers.
It should be this weekend, if not next weekend.
So it's one of those things that like that's also when all of our craft vendors want to be back. That's when all of our prepared food vendors want to be back because they all want a slice of that pie. But I have to break hearts, and it is like probably the one thing that stresses me out the most is when I have to tell people, hey, these next couple of weeks, it's going to be limited space.
And it has to be produce first.
And we're produce first. So, and even in that, there's a hierarchy. Like fresh produce is probably going to get space before like a meat vendor if I was truly running out of space.
And it makes sense because I feel like the most novel part of this concept is that you can walk downtown from your house and you can get fresh produce that's come from 50 miles away.
Even less sometimes.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I was going to ask, is there you talked about the one producer being 100 some air miles away. Mm-hmm. So is there a number as far as radius? Okay. And what is that number?
200 air miles.
200 air miles.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I think 165 is the furthest we have some of our vendors come from.
Because stuff like it's so obvious, but sometimes it's not talked about. Like the growing season here is so short. That's why some farmers markets, I'm sure, in other parts of the country, they've got a plethora of stuff in April or May.
Right.
But it's not the case here. But down in Hermiston, it's great growing country, and the Yakima area and Sunnyside. I mean, talk about great growing, opportunities.
Yeah, and I think we're definitely at that point where we're trying to make sure, because at some point you could saturate the market with too many produce vendors, right? And everyone's going home with leftover produce. It's like that doesn't make anyone happy.
Sure.
And so for us, there's also a balancing act when it comes to accepting produce vendors and being realistic about, getting them into market and saying like, okay, like what is your niche? That Sunnyside producer, they have at least I think at least 3 acres in corn alone.
Okay.
And we have some producers who are growing corn, but it's very small production.
Yeah.
And so to be able to then say to the greater Moscow shopping base, okay, like if you're looking for corn, here are your people. Here's someone who's probably going to have it pretty regularly, but then here's some other people if that person sold out. So you have to have like a little bit of redundancy built in, but there comes a point where you could get too much redundancy. And then, that makes for unhappy vendors, and you may not have the shopping base to cover that.
Okay.
But so it is one of those things that we absolutely, if there's a local grower, like when they're ready to come to market, like I would love for them to be a part of our market.
Sure.
But sometimes they just want something slower paced, and that's totally fine too.
Yeah.
Like we're not here to poach every vendor and every grower, from other folks. But I think the savvy growers, the savvy vendors do their market research.
I was going to say, this is also a responsibility of the vendors and not just the folks structuring the market. You know, they got to look at it from a little bit of a free market standpoint and say, okay, we brought back 2 bags of corn in the last 2 weeks. Maybe we offer a lower price point because we do a higher volume and we know that versus our competitors, so I would imagine that they,
that's the hope.
And
I like I said, I think if they're savvy and, they're understanding that, and then, if someone's doing organic production versus conventional production, like that's going to play into it.
Point. Yeah.
But I mean, with how long the market's been happening, we have folks that have been with us for 20, 30 seasons. And I'm sure we're going to see some retirements out of market, in the next couple of years.
Sure.
And so making sure that we're also making space for new and upcoming growers as well, I think is a balancing act.
Well, and it's also difficult too because everything's ready at the same time. Tomatoes are all ready at the same time. Yep. Corn's all... It's July, or it was July.
Yeah.
So it's cherry season,
And Yeah.
Everyone's got it at the same time,
Yeah.
but it's also one of those things that I look forward to.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So let's talk about, okay, so we're in August. Students, I know that some of the Greek students are back. I just heard an interview with Dr. Cantwell, and it sounds like she's got students across from the president's house at WSU back in the fraternities and sororities. If you go to the market in August, what are you going to see? Because we'll be publishing here next week. So we're in prime peak season. Yeah. What are you going to see when you walk in?
Yeah.
So Main Street's shut down for Moscow Farmers Market. Fifth Street's shut down. Is that the case?
Yep, a portion of Fifth Street.
Of Fifth Street. Yeah. I shouldn't say all the way up to the high school.
Yeah. But just that little portion right off of Main Street. Not even to Washington, to the alley.
That's right.
Because of the co-op. Yep.
That's right. You still need the access to the co-op.
And then we have the second wing of the market, which got developed in 2024, and that's the 4th Street cul-de-sac. So it's right to the east of the fountain.
Yes.
And that also just goes straight to the alley. So that actually came about because of the space demand.
Okay.
And it added only 10 more spaces to our inventory, but it was helpful. It was good.
Well, it's probably also a factor of the police department moving to the other part of town too, right?
Yeah, that was a big factor.
Because that was a busy turnaround spot for Moscow PD, wasn't it?
Yeah. So after, PD had moved and we just started to see some of these growing pains with the market, we kind of evaluated could we take that cul-de-sac area and have little impact, because we enjoy 6 months downtown, but our downtown business neighbors are there all year paying, their fair share of taxes. So we want to be mindful about that growth with the market. And, but when you come to the market now, sunflowers and zinnias are going to be there. And we're just starting to see watermelon and corn, cucumbers, green beans, some vendors specialize. I think I had one vendor. I don't think you'll see fennel this weekend. Fennel might be done, but that's a kind of a unique niche thing. Yeah. Currants, berries, chard. And then we'll start to slowly. We're seeing some tomatoes. I wouldn't say there's a plethora of tomatoes right now, but I imagine within the next week or two, tomatoes will be pretty abundant in the market, and then peppers, the Tonamaker Hill Farm booth, which is right on Main Street at that 5th and Main intersection. They've been with the market since '84, I believe.
Oh my gosh.
And they're well known as the pepper booth. But other vendors have peppers too. But cantaloupe will be here before we know it. We already have nectarines down there. Yep. So it really is I'm sure we'll start to see some of our more hardier winter squashes coming about by the end of August.
Okay.
So,
So not only is there a large selection of produce that's fresh from all around the region, there's also food vendors.
Yes.
And we talked about the non-ag type vendors, but there's got to be now. And this has changed in the last 15 years. I've been going to the market for 20 years since I've lived here as a student.
You're right.
But that's when the market was on the other side.
Oh, in the Jackson.
Yep. And for many, many years there wasn't a place to get coffee.
Yes.
At the market.
Yep.
But now there's got to be 3.
Well,
it's amazing.
We were 2, and then one of them said, "Hey, we want to spend time with our growing kid," which was fair. So
that's a good reason.
Yeah. So now we are down to 1. So we have Cabin Coffee Roastery. I think
that's in the cul-de-sac too.
Yeah,
right?
we generally put them on the side streets because it's strategic. They often get a line. So,
yes.
1, it's a line management. And 2, it's about having an anchor vendor that draws people all the way down to those zones. So, that's one of the things about a market manager's job is curating not only the best experience for the shoppers, but then kind of curating how do you put vendors next to each other? How do you know that this specific vendor utilizes this space in this way? Or, hey, they've got lines that they need to deal with. or hey, no one's going down to that area. How do you get people to go down there naturally? And so, I would say like, people ask us if the coffee vendor's not there, they ask us like, and we've got a chai vendor as well, Alpine Chai.
Yes.
But Clearwater Clearwater Roasting Company was a drip coffee vendor. And they came in and they didn't want to offer drip coffee. They were like, no, we just want to sell our beans. But then people wanted to sample.
Yeah,
and then they'd get the sample and they're like, well, can I get a cup of coffee? And and they didn't want to be in the business of selling cups of coffee. But again, that's part of that, like listening to your customers and finding out like, they came in with a specific vision and they had to pivot. And so they're still in business. They're still roasting coffee. And that's the great thing about the market, especially for food vendors, is what we call the market being like this incubator for businesses.
Totally. Humble Burger.
Yeah, Humble Burger
started at the market.
Patty's Kitchen started at the market.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they started.
Oh, that's awesome.
Papa's Kitchen, they're a relatively new vendor. They just opened up a storefront over off of 2nd Street.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, but Patty's is still at the market.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Of course, the regular location.
Yeah, and
right
Humble
off
Burger's
campus.
still at the market.
Right.
Yeah, so a lot of folks that start at the market
stay there.
It's a way to honor like where they began,
Yeah,
And
I
it's the
love
same
that.
thing with Sisters Cookies. So Sisters Cookies started out as this just an opportunity for Connie's daughters to sell cookies and with our youth vendor program.
Yeah.
People love the cookies.
They're good cookies.
And it transformed into this family business and an iconic business that people know what Sisters Cookies is.
Yeah, it's a brand.
It's a brand.
Yeah.
And it's associated with Moscow, Idaho.
Yeah.
And they have new owners. And so, it's cool to see, the iterations and the history like behind all of these things. And, when Sushi Man started out at the market, he had a little roll cart that he would come in.
Yeah.
And then it became a food trailer, you know, and now he does pop-up events and caters, and Palouse Juice actually kind of got their start in the market.
Yes.
And so like, a lot of people just for that food entrepreneurship, the market can really be this great jumping off point. So our hope is, if you graduate from the market, our hope is that you continue to be in existence and be successful.
Yeah.
We've had businesses that start in like the market or use the market and they get big and they want to come back. Infuse and Booze is one of those. They do these dehydrated cocktails that you can then infuse with your own liquor.
Oh, okay.
And, they left the market and they're everywhere in the U.S. right now. And they were like, can we come back? I was like, sure.
Yeah.
You still meet all the criteria and this is what you have to do. And
just because you're a national brand that started here humbly doesn't mean you can't come back.
Yeah. So, our hope is,
so long as you get through committee.
Yeah, exactly. Our hope is that like, if you graduate, that you do so gracefully, that you do so on good terms with us.
Yeah.
And so be it. Like, more power to you. So
how many vendors are going to be there on a Saturday in August or September? Like how
once
many
we
number
have
of booths? Like,
so
it's a lot to see.
We have 110 spaces.
Okay.
But as I mentioned earlier,
some people take up more.
So if we have all of our produce vendors that are taking up their full booth capacity, I would say we're probably averaging 88 vendors.
Okay.
If it's a full market.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you ever get feedback from? And I couldn't imagine that this hasn't been a point of feedback over the years of like, why not just expand to the other side of the street? Mm-hmm. But is there sort of a thing of like, we want to keep a finite amount of space so there's still this structure that people love, or because like,
I think it's a great question.
Okay.
One, to cross 3rd Street is to talk about traffic and risk management.
Yeah, I was about to say,
3rd Street is technically highway.
Yeah.
It's and so we likely wouldn't close that portion down. And so people would have to follow traffic laws and rules with the stop sign and all that stuff. I think the other thing too that people one, because we're such a limited staff, that would probably mean an increase of staff because of that increase of risk management.
Yeah.
And then the other thing
insurance.
The other thing that people don't realize is we actually, during market season, there are some stipulations and restrictions on our downtown business neighbors. So like Hypersped Sports, for instance, couldn't just set up and give away cookies or sell cookies outside of their storefront because that's in direct competition with the market. So they can do normal extensions of what's happening inside their business. So like a clothing sales rack or something like that. But so there are limitations that get placed on those businesses.
Okay.
And I don't know if businesses understand that part of it. And so that's one thing to consider. But I think the other thing too is like, I don't know if our market wants to continue to do like unfettered growth for the sake of growth.
Yeah.
And because it is a lot to manage right now as it stands.
And I was that was kind of one of the last points we had is like, what is the future of the Moscow Farmers Market from your perspective? You've been involved for almost 10 years now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, what do you see as some of the pertinent points of the future?
I mean, I think we really need to address, one of the things that we talked about earlier was like the number of people that want to come and be involved with our market. And so every year we've allowed vendor recruitment. So is it that we go to vendor recruitment every 2 years, every 3 years? Is it only recruiting or allowing for agricultural vendor recruitment, and those craft and food juries we mentioned earlier get pushed out? The one thing we did is we did decrease the number of registrants for craft and food juries. So it was like 3 juries, 15 registrants. We trimmed that down to 10 per jury. So those are things that I think the Farmers Market Commission and staff are kind of constantly evaluating. 2 things that like off the top of my head that we do hear from current vendors and that we see is like baked goods and skincare products are some of the most accessible entry points to pop-ups and farmers markets. But I mean, at some point, I only have so much space, and I tell vendors I can't guarantee your sales, but I try and guarantee fair competition. So I'm never going to put 2 soap vendors next to one another.
Sure.
But sometimes it comes down to like, okay, I've got all my soap vendors requesting to be at market that day, and I can't get them far enough from one another, so someone's not getting in.
Yeah.
Same with baked goods. Bread making like became this big boon during the pandemic. And I think that's one of the things that is a very accessible entry point, but really honing your craft. And so that goes back to, we want to be this place that is accessible to many people, but we're also coming up against that accessibility being an issue itself when it comes to certain types of products. So we might just come to a point where we start saying we are no longer looking for X, Y, and Z type vendors. Like that's just, our market is saturated with them, and we wish you the best of luck with these other farmers markets. So those are things that I see. And then growth wise, we really just don't have much in the way of options.
Okay. With the space the way it is right now.
So it would be, and again, I don't know if we want to expand for the sake of expansion.
Right.
But overall, I think we're doing a pretty good job at maintaining with just a little bit of growth. But it truly has been, if we're a staff of 2 year-round in the community events division, truly it's on us. What is the base level that we can maintain before we add anything else on? We have to get that base level so efficient and so well honed, and then we can see if there's room to add on certain things.
Is there any focus on from the commission or you, the staff, saying we're 50 years in, one thing that we want to prioritize for, say, the next 10 years is a way to make sure that the ecological footprint shrinks? Like, as far as like, because one question I was going to ask you is, who has the shortest commute as a vendor and who has the longest commute? And do things like that play a factor?
I mean, that's a great question.
Okay. Because you have events that are saying, okay, yes, we are this gigantic festival that is a monstrosity, but we are carbon neutral.
Sure.
Or like are those focuses that play into future planning or goals?
I think one of our core values, I think this kind of touches on what you're saying, but not 100%. But one of our core values is making sure that the majority of the market space for the majority of the season is dedicated to produce vendors. And then the other part of that coin is making sure it's open to Layton, Whitman County folks. So if you look at our entire vendor roster, which this year is like 150 rotating vendors, most of those folks are coming from Moscow and then Layton, Whitman County in general.
Yeah.
And most of, like 76% of our vendors, I believe, are all Idaho-based vendors.
Okay.
Now, as far as a carbon neutral, that sort of thing.
I mean, I'm not saying carbon neutral, but just looking
I mean, I think like for us, like it's just a natural, because we require the maker, producer, grower of that item to be on site, that inevitably cuts out a large swath of people that would want to participate in our market.
Sure.
You can't send an employee.
You can't ship it. Yeah.
Yeah. You can't hire someone just to work the farmer's market, for you.
Okay.
So you see people working alongside employees.
Right.
But
that producer needs to be there.
That producer needs to be present.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And so I think that is a big, as long as we maintain that, that will cut out some really big growers that probably want to be a part of our market. And then I think we do have some things that we're evaluating. Like our market generates a lot of trash. There's not any recycling options downtown.
Yeah.
And so how can we do more waste-wise packaging?
Yeah.
So less single-use plastic. I don't think we'll ever get away from no plastic in the marketplace.
I was going to say, could you go all compostable?
Yeah.
Or is that too much of a burden for your vendors?
I think one of the things is you see folks like Ren Fair. They do it so well, right?
Yeah. But you got someone who's a volunteer telling people how to organize their trash.
Exactly, and it's a 2-day event.
Yeah, that's a huge commitment.
Yeah, to do that for a 26-week event.
Right.
8 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Exactly.
At each of the places where we collect trash is kind of
volunteers.
It's a lot of volunteers, and that's a whole nother management piece, right? So I think for us, one of the questions that we put forward at our rapid market assessment in July was trying to understand what is the value to shoppers for the market to move in that kind of policy where we're either encouraging or putting together a policy that says where possible vendors will use waste-wise products. Because you're right, compostable is great. And as someone pointed out to me, they said, so is there a facility to put that stuff? I was like, yes, but if it gets commingled in trash.
Right, then what's the point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think those are some things that we want to be more mindful about, but also we have to be practical about it and how that actually functions and what we can do. But to answer your question about shortest and longest commute, Stu Scott with Stu Scott Stained Glass has the shortest commute, I think.
Okay.
He walks from his downtown home and has a cart that comes in. So I'm fairly certain he's the shortest.
He's downtown going downtown.
Yeah.
Okay.
He has a little cart that he pulls behind him.
I love that.
And then he's the former owner of Camas Prairie Winery when it was in Moscow.
Okay.
Okay. And then longest commute.
Jeremy.
Not Jeremy. Jeremy bought the business.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he's the one operating it out of
Helmer. Yeah. Helmer.
Oh, Helmer. Okay.
Yeah.
Beauville
or Hummer.
My apologies.
Helmer, one of those. Yeah.
My apologies, Jeremy.
Yeah.
You're
But and Jeremy's a market vendor too.
Yes. And I still see him. Yeah. Okay.
And he's actually one of our
He's been there forever.
He's been there forever, and he's one of our few market vendors who has if you ever walk past his booth, he's got a little golden bell. There's a couple of vendors that have these golden bells, and it's because they got perfect season attendance from the year prior. And that includes attending the homecoming market. So he's got several of them.
Wow.
So you can ask him about his golden bell. Yeah.
And he will just drink with you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of a fun vendor to be around.
Yeah.
I remember when a shop was downtown going in for a visit at 3 in the afternoon and saying, I'm not going back to the office.
Yeah. And then longest commute. That's a tricky question. It's probably got to be either J3L Meat's tricky because while their ranch is 162 air miles away in that very small town, which I can't remember, in Oregon.
Okay.
They have a sister in Colfax, so they basically have a refrigerator in Colfax, so they don't have to do that commute. So
that's practical.
Yeah, I would probably say Calhoun Family Fruit out of Wapato, Washington, or Alvarez Family Farm.
That's like a 3 hour, 3.5 hour commute.
Yeah, those two probably have the longest commutes.
Yeah,
for sure.
I guess Sandpoint's 3.5.
Yeah,
so it's up
and it's just funny how
woods.
air miles, work.
Yeah.
I would say Calhoun Family Fruit. They were with the market starting in the late 80s through like early 90s, took a bit of a hiatus and then came back around like 2013. And they're really, really great family that has been coming to the market. And just like a nice anchor vendor over closer to 3rd Street. And they've got all sorts of fruit that they offer.
Nice.
So, yeah.
I want to close out with, certainly last but not least, the awards and accolades of the Moscow Farmers Market, because if you're like me, everyone it's like Moscow's like San Diego. Yeah. You can live here for 20 years like I have, and you're not a local.
Yeah.
Because you didn't grow up here.
Right.
But the people who are locals like me, who have just lived here for a couple decades, know by going that it is obviously an award-winning event because you see it in practice. But for those who haven't been, who ought to be going or should go at some point soon, maybe in the next month, what are the awards that it is won, and why?
So our biggest thing that we like to tout is that we have been rated as one of the top 20, maybe 25 U.S. farmers markets.
That's a big deal.
And this is through the American Farmland Trust's America's Farmers Market Celebration.
Wow.
So it is the only public ranking of U.S. farmers markets. And so voting just opened last Saturday, August 1st.
Okay.
So you can vote for the Moscow Farmers Market.
We'll put a link to that when we publish. Yeah.
The closest we got into the top 10 one year. We were voted number 8th in the nation. And so what they do is they do national rankings, they do state rankings, and they do regional rankings.
Okay.
So we've held the title of top Idaho farmers markets for several years, some consecutive, some not.
Okay.
We've been knocked off a couple of times by Boise and Nampa, and
but
we get back up
there with 2 or 3. I mean, that's really good.
Yeah. And then so last year in 2025, we were voted as a top Idaho farmers market and then the top Pacific Northwest farmers market.
Wow.
Yeah. And so we just, a little plea out there. It's our 50th year anniversary, and we would just love to get into as high as possible.
If there's ever a time to vote, it's now.
Yeah. So, but truly, that has put Moscow on the map in some ways. We've had features in edible communities. The newspaper picks that up.
Yeah.
Spokane has tons of farmers markets up there, and we get little mention of being on the Palouse. I think Inland 360 once gave us a moniker of the granddaddy of farmers markets for the area, and so truly humble beginnings, right?
Yeah.
The Jackson Street parking lot was home for many decades.
Yeah.
Not a lot of growth, very steady, and then the move to Main Street, it did take a couple of years, but it exploded. And it just, it really was a place where then all of a sudden we were seeing students, and I think some people get a little nostalgic for the parking lot because they come down and they say, there's so many people, or I don't recognize anyone. I'm like, these are faces that have probably been living in your community who never felt like they could come to the market before.
Yeah.
Or this is the next generation of supporters of the market. So I try and always look at it from a positive viewpoint and stance, because I think, people know what is familiar to them and that's near and dear to their heart. But I think we always need to make a little bit of room, for what's coming next. And That's like the biggest thing that we kind of push every year, and it does get us on the map in some ways. I mean, U of I uses it for their recruitment and marketing. Like,
I bet WSU does.
Yeah, yeah. But
8 miles this way, there's a really cool farmers market too. Yeah.
But so I mean, and I think like, I don't know. I think it just goes back to like my predecessors really did all the work. They truly, like 1976 and the 80s and the 90s, like they're the ones that kind of laid all of the foundational groundwork that then I've been able to build off of. So, you know, I'm just a steward of the event, and I hope I'm making the right decisions for the next person that comes along for the future. But yeah, that's kind of some of our biggest claim to fame right there. And we love the bragging rights.
and we're going to wrap up, but we haven't even talked about everything. There's also programming. So, I mean, it's sort of that first rule of entertainment, leave them wanting more. We haven't described everything. So if it sounds good, just go. If
it sounds good, definitely visit this weekend.
Oh,
definitely
I love that.
Visit this weekend because it's National Farmers Market Week.
Okay.
So we're having our local celebration. We're going to have market musical chairs. We're going to have some giveaways. We're going to have a inking station with temporary tattoos. Bring your own bag, and we've got market stamps that you can stamp your bag. So come, you can see all the like silliness that our market has to offer local residents and visitors. And then we're going to have, for the rest of the season, we're going to have great entertainment. Live music is a cornerstone of the farmers market. So definitely come this month. We're going to have the Gem State Flyers, the aerial arts group from University of Idaho will be here this month. And, we have a speakers wall where tons of nonprofits and individuals and organizations, they all set up trying to get their message out into the community. We feature different rotating city commissions each week. So if you want to know how to get involved with volunteering at the city level and that sort of thing. But yeah, you should come this weekend, come every Saturday now through the end of October. Market's ending on Halloween this year. So
brilliant.
We'll have our costume contest coming back to end the season. So
my barber won, and she was elated.
Yes. That's amazing.
She came as Bad Bunny in a bunny costume.
Yes.
And she told me for at least 2 visits. Yeah, she was thrilled.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're just finding ways to still show that there's something for the residents, that we've talked about that tourism aspect, but truly we are here for the local community as well.
If you want to get involved in the farmers, well, let's close on this. If you want to volunteer, if you want to help, if you feel like, oh my God, I have this vision that could be maybe beneficial to the commission, how do you do that?
One, we have an open seat on the Farmers Market Commission right now for an at-large community member. So if you really, if you find yourself at the farmers market almost every Saturday, spending a fair amount of time there, and you love the market and you love visiting, the Farmers Market Commission might be a perfect way for you to serve and volunteer.
Love it.
And then we mentioned that we're really efficient. So we kind of have almost worked our way out of volunteers. But that being said, we do have select volunteer opportunities, and we post all of those opportunities through the City of Moscow Give Pulse portal. So any volunteer opportunity is going to be posted there. Our next full rapid market assessment will be September 12th, and we are still looking for some bodies. It's a great way to engage with customers. We have opportunities for both wallflowers and people pleasers.
All personality types.
All personality types welcome. So I would say that's definitely a place to go and look. And not just for our division, like that's for Parks and Rec too. And, other things as well. So but as far as like actual help, setting up, tear down, we've got it dialed in, but we're always happy to connect folks with vendors, because vendors need people and they need consistent folks. So if you are reliable, if you're consistent, we'd love to connect you with maybe one of our vendors who needs assistance.
That's great.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to mention before we close out?
Just that get out, Brock the vote for us in the America's Farmers Market celebration. And we look forward to seeing everyone 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Saturday and all the way through the end of October. Market goes all the way through the end of October. That is another frequently asked question we get.
Yeah.
So last Saturday in October, rain, shine, sleet, snow.
And I mean, not to be mean, but it is on the banister.
It is.
It does state it on the banister, May through October, but I'm just putting it out there. I noticed that when I read it.
You know how many people at the last Saturday in April will be like, is the market open yet?
Oh, yeah.
No.
I've heard about this. Yeah, that there are rumors beforehand. Yeah, that it's going to start in April, and it's just they're just rumors.
They're just rumors. First Saturday, May. Every week, all the way through the first Saturday, October. Maybe smoke and heat might cancel a market or shorten it, but we have yet to see that happen.
Okay. So. Very good. Amanda Argona, thank you so much for joining. This has been absolutely fascinating.
Oh, that's great.
And I know this will be fascinating for those listening too.
Awesome.
So.
Well, thanks, John. I really appreciate the invite and to talk numbers.
Absolutely. So. Thanks for joining Community Partnership Conversations for Inland Northwest Broadcasting. I'm John Carson, and we will talk to you next time.